Longevity isn't luck, it's lifestyle built on habits, culture, and intention. I'm Art Aviles. Welcome to Age with Intention podcast, where we explore how people around the world live longer, stronger, think clearer, and age with purpose. So today's episode is about metabolic health and why most people are getting completely wrong advice in the social media space and everywhere we turn. So it's very important to touch on this topic. So today I'm joined by Dr. Elena Morteale, and we're going to unpack what's really happening beneath the surface when it comes to weight, energy, cravings, and just overall health. So with 25 plus years experience, Dr. Elena Morteale is leading a health revolution out of Tampa, Florida, one revolving around bioenergetic field to support longevity, energy, mental clarity, happiness, which we all need, and so much more. So, Dr. Elena Morteale, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Art. I'm great. Glad that you have me on. Happy to be here. And
Thank you.
maybe we can resolve all the confusion.
Yes, there's plenty of that. So let's start with your story. What led you into this work? Not just chiropractic, but bioenergetics. What was a moment when you changed your perspective and you shifted into what you're doing now?
Yeah, before I even got into chiropractic, I was a medical technologist. So I worked in the laboratory with, the blood, the urine, and any body fluids. But for me, it was always just a number that came in through the lab. So I wanted more of patient contact. You see the same name, the same number, but I didn't get the clinical portion. And then, as I was working in the lab, I was experiencing headaches and sinus issues, and uh, I went from doctor to doctor and with no help. And they just told me it's all in your head. And I was like, yeah, it's in my head, but, more than that. And I had a friend who, she used to go to chiropractor because she had a bad back. And one day she hurt her back and needed a ride to the chiropractor. Well, I wasn't on board with chiropractic. I thought they were quacks. So I was like, well, okay, I'll take you. And drove up to the office and I kept asking her, is there a back door? She's like, what do you need a back door for? I said, I don't need people to see me go in here. So yeah, there was no back door. So I took her in and I sat like in a corner in the waiting room, like didn't want anybody to talk to me while she was telling the chiropractor what was going on with me. Chiropractor came out and asked if I wanted her to look and examine me. And I said, well, you can, but no doctor's been able to do anything. They just say it's all in my head. So long story short, she did examine me. She said, well, your neck needs adjustment. And so I let her adjust it and it was like instantly, like the headache was gone and the sinuses started draining. And I was like, how do you sign up to do this? So the next day I quit my job in the lab and went off to chiropractic school.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
And then while I was in chiropractic school, again, there was more to the healing. Now you got to figure I've been out of school 30 years. And back then it was straight up chiropractic. Even doing physical therapy modalities was considered kind of woo woo. So, but I knew there was more to the body as a whole. So I would venture out into these different areas, with the homeopathy and then with the energetic. And then when I came to Tampa, I started to get an influx of patients that had serious illnesses like cancer, autoimmune disease, and they would come into my clinic. They didn't want to do the standard medical treatment. So then I decided to research and I do electrodermal screening. I do the bioenergetic, the Nest Health, all where it's just scanning energetic meridians in the body and we're just looking to see what's balanced, what's not. Everything has energy, whether it's a bacteria, virus, any organ in your body. And from that, I created my own little cancer protocol and started working with patients. And then it just progressed from there. So I'm always looking for the most innovative and what's going to help the patient. And that's really how I got into it.
awesome. Yeah, that's great work. And I know we're starting to hear a lot about bioenergetics. Can you explain a little bit about what it is for our audience?
Right. So the bioenergetics, like I say, is where everything has a frequency in the body. So, and there's healing frequencies and there's disease frequencies. So think about when I talk about measuring frequencies, think about like acupuncture meridians. So they run from head
Right.
to toe. Everything has that. And so on the one testing I do electrodermal screening, we're using your hands and your feet, but we're testing those certain energetic points that relate to maybe your liver, maybe your intestines. When I see things that aren't balanced, those are target areas that I know we have to address. But I will tell you, over 30 years of doing this, 30 years ago when we had a cancer patient, it was a lot easier to clean up their diet, juice them, maybe coffee enemas, supplements, and some homeopathics. But now just cleaning up the diet isn't even enough. We have to do so much more, and we've had to add more supplements, and that gets to a point where you have
O-
pill
Overwhelming. And
fatigue.
you said 30
Mhm.
years, just 30. That's in the 90s, right? We're talking in the 90s, and it's now become
Right,
more complicated.
right,
Wow.
and we did it. Back then it was. I mean, I didn't have a website, nothing. It was sort of underground because again, it was like, what you're doing isn't. And now more people are educating themselves that there is alternative ways to treat these diseases and actually, reset the body and get well.
Right. Okay. And you've been talking a lot about misunderstood metabolic health. What are people getting completely wrong right now? I know there's a lot of misunderstanding, too much information. There's great information out
Right.
there, but there's just too much.
Exactly. And I think the whole thing with the metabolism is, I think people keep treating it like a math equation, calories in and calories out, but it's way more than that. It's controlled by, hormones like insulin and leptin and ghrelin. All of that is influenced with inflammation. And then, all of that is then regulated by the gut. So, they're highly sensitive. Who doesn't have stress today? So we have excess cortisol, high stress levels. And, when I have people, I hear it every day. And I'm one, it's like I'm doing everything right, but nothing's working, but what they're experiencing it's not a lack of willpower effort. It's a dysregulated signal. The metabolic signal is disrupted.
I see, yeah, because I know there's people that, I mean, it does work for some people temporarily. They're doing the calories in,
Right,
calories out. They're doing the
right,
macros, and again, you see the results. But then again, it's a temporary thing, and it's not going
right.
to be sustainable. You said it isn't just about willpower. The whole physiology, the hormones, inflammation, gut health, all that good stuff. Now, what does chronic inflammation actually feel like on a day-to-day basis? And you see patients all the time. I
I
mean,
see it all
that
the
must be one of
time.
the biggest ones, right? The chronic inflammation.
Yeah. Yeah. So chronic inflammation, I mean, they're constantly tired even though they've slept, right? Or they have these cravings all the time or food noise. They'll have puffiness or bloating. They have digestive issues, joint pain. Um, it's every day like brain fog. And these, they're subtle, but it's just a continuous
Right.
cycle of that.
Yeah, the subtleness. I mean, I feel it. I think it's paying attention. We lack that practice of paying attention on how we feel on a day to day basis. Like me for today, I'm wearing these. I don't wear glasses to read or anything. These are blue light blockers. I usually wear the night ones, the reddish ones.
Right.
These are actually for the day, and I felt it today. I'm like, you know what? I've been being exposed to too much blue light in the last few days. I'm gonna put these on for the day. So yeah, for the people out there, no, I know I talk about I don't wear glasses. I don't. These are just blue light, but it's the stress, right? How does
Yeah.
stress or this regulation of the nervous system block? Most people want to know this. Is it really true? Does it block fat loss even when someone is doing everything right? Can stress do that?
Oh yeah, sure, because the body's constantly making decisions based on, you know, energy availability and perceived stress. So, for instance, if your insulin is elevated, then your fat storage is increased. And then if your leptin signaling is impaired, then you're going to have that hunger increase. And then, of course, if cortisol is high, right in the midsection is where the fat's going to stay. And then it doesn't even matter if you're in a calorie deficit, you just have that resistance to losing the fat. And because the signals aren't working. I mean, and I experienced that, everything was the same. I was eating the same, exercising, doing all that. And then menopause kicked in. And then all the weight came in the center
Right.
around the abdomen. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it happens to both men and women. That's
Mhm.
the stubborn fat area, and we hit a certain age, 40 and up, and it's like
Yeah.
I'm doing everything right. What's going on? Why can't I? And we're not
Right.
thinking, hey, you know what? Maybe you have stress overload, and that's going to completely block uh,
Right.
the ability to for the metabolism to really take off. So that's one of the biggest signs you see there, right? And then the
Oh,
constant
yeah.
hunger, the low energy, and that's what's
Right.
going to stall the fat loss that we used to do in
Right.
our 20s. I used to eat a
Yeah,
whole pizza
exactly.
box at
And
25
keep
and
going. Yeah.
super
And
thin.
yeah.
So
Huh?
it's not about the discipline. What should people focus on first to start fixing this, though? What do you see? What do you start with them
So,
so they don't get
so
overwhelmed?
you've got to fix the metabolic signal, right? So you've got to decrease the inflammation. You've got to balance the gut, because the GLP-1s are in the gut naturally, but when the gut is imbalanced, then
Hmm.
you have that signaling is blunted or it's decreased, and then your blood sugars become unstable, and then your cravings increase, and of course the cortisol is high, you become insulin resistant, and then the fat is on there. So you really, I mean, you've got to have clarity on what you're doing. And you might need objective data, meaning, you need to know where your blood sugar is. You need to know the inflammatory markers, what's going on with your hormones. And that could simply be some lab tests. Because if you're kind of guessing and not really knowing where you're at, then you can stay stuck.
So it's important to measure what matters most. I know there's a
Right.
lot of labs out there, so you do recommend uh, definitely these functional medicine labs that are
Right.
gaining ground, very popular. Micronutrient test. Do you do that one yourself, or
I do. We do that. Yes.
I think that's a big one, right? Because you could really
It's a
see
big
the
one.
deficiencies there. Yeah, that's a big
Exactly.
one. There's a lot of conversation. You just touched on it. There's a lot of conversation right now around weight loss and metabolic support with this thing, GLP-1. How do you view GLP medications in the bigger picture of metabolic health? I know the tide has shifted. More and more people are scared from the bombshell news that's been coming out about the dangerous side
Yeah.
effects, the black box warning, whatever you want to call them. You've been exploring a more complete approach, and that will caught my attention
Right.
with a GLP-3. What makes
Right.
it different?
So, we do and have used the pharmaceutical injectables in my clinic, but I mean, synthetic, um, it can be good for your appetite suppression or blood sugar control, but you also have the side effects, the hair loss, the muscle loss, um, the nausea, the constipation, because it's pharmaceutical, right? So the pharmacological part overrides or forces that pathway. And because when you get that injection, you get it once a week and it lasts 7 days. So just think about on the initial day you're getting that injection, you're flooding that whole receptor site and forcing that, right? We're not addressing gut dysfunction with it. We're not addressing inflammation. We're not addressing nutrient signaling or long-term metabolic resilience, right? We don't even know the underlying side effects. Now we're starting to hear, the bone loss and, Ozempic phase. So that's when I was like, yeah, this is not really aligning with what we do, especially when the people who stopped that injection, all those underlying issues came back and then they gained back the fat, not just, what they had, it was like twofold or more. And they
Wow. See,
were
that's
worse off, right? So that's when, I was introduced to I was introduced to the GLP-3. Actually, I was introduced to three before GLP was even on the scene. And because of their absorption technologies, that was just key for me for all the patients I treated. But when the GLP-3 came out, I mean, it was like game changing because we were working with the pathways and resetting the pathways. We weren't forcing any of that. It's all natural. I mean, the 267 peptides from salmon and from mushrooms, and then they have the hops in there, the ginseng. Um, so there was more benefits. I always say that the weight loss was a side effect because it was working on so much. It was working on the inflammation and the sleep. And that was the biggest thing, people started to notice these changes, but they also, you know, started to say that, their appetite was improved or was regulating. They didn't have this food noise. Um, but we know it's working with the body, it's working upstream, and it is regulating the appetite, it's regulating the blood sugar, it's reducing inflammation, it's enhancing all that cellular communication. So from a standpoint of the pharmaceutical or injectable, those meds, the injectables, they have the single pathway and they're receptor driven. It's all pharmacy related. With three, we're working on multiple pathways. We're working with the gut and the metabolic signaling to support that whole system. And that, to me, it's like we're not overriding the system, we're helping to restore it. So that was game changer for me. And to hear people say that I'm not fighting my body anymore. I don't have that food noise. That was like a big thing that people noticed. And the sleep. And, your body heals while you sleep. So I mean, these were all the lifestyle things that, people weren't telling me they were getting from the injection, you know. So the more I started using, the more things I would see. I mean, I'm using it for other things, not even just for weight loss, just for people with dementia and, other inflammatory issues. And we're seeing results in such a short time.
Wow. So you're starting to see that's how people they feel their metabolism working. You don't even have
Right.
to measure it. You start feeling it in different ways. And that's why I've also noticed there's people like, I mean, very fit people are also taking this GLP-3. Again, it's not just the weight loss thing. It's actually your entire metabolism is thriving. And so that's going to get mental clarity. That's going to get that energy, the recovery process faster. And I'm
Right.
like, why are they taking it too? Because I'm seeing people taking
Right.
GLP-3. And then I
Exactly.
love the three aspect where it's three pathways. So it's working the three
Right.
pathways. That's what makes sense
Yeah.
about three. And then another thing
Exactly.
is you mentioned peptides. And I know that that's another fear factor there now that we are currently hearing a lot about. The peptides are synthetic, right? And there's
Right.
many in the fitness industry that are taking them, and the results aren't really that great because again, it's not natural; it's kind of synthetic. You mentioned
Right.
267 peptides in that. Wow,
Right.
that's crazy. That's
Exactly.
and it's all natural.
Exactly. It's all natural. And
Wow.
I can speak, for me, I didn't want to lose any more weight, but I still had that slight abdominal mid thing. And I said, well, let me just try this. And for me, although the scale shows a 2 pounds, I'm like down 3 sizes in clothes. All that inflammation went away. The face is thinner. So, I mean, you're actually seeing and feeling that. And for me, the biggest first thing I noticed was the sleep. And I already thought I slept
It's
well,
huge.
but the sleep was huge. I woke up so like I had the deepest sleep and so refreshed that it was like, this is like a no-brainer.
Wow. So
Yeah.
then let's talk about. So most of my clients are females. 70% of my clients are females, and audience as well in social media. And of course, the biggest thing is 40 plus women
Right.
perimenopause, and it's something that they're asking: does this work for perimenopause? I go, you know what? It's going to work your metabolism, so give it a shot.
Right.
So I actually got a couple people on it uh, and they are on their like third bottle. I'm not sure how long it lasts. I don't have it personally. I am going to start trying it because obviously
Yeah.
it's beneficial for many things. It's not
Right,
just about weight loss. So I've been hearing some good stuff about it as far as feeling better in this what do you call it process of perimenopause, the stage that they're in, right?
right. So we've got some patients too that have, they're on thyroid medicines and they take these drops and they've actually had to lessen their thyroid meds because this whole signaling process is improving. So they don't need the medication like they used to. And the other biggest thing is a lot of the perimenopausal women have reported that their mood is so much better and their energy because it's working on the hormones. It's hitting all those pathways.
Wow. So see, yeah, that's another thing I didn't mention. The thyroid, that's a huge one.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I don't know the percentage exactly, but there's a lot of people on these thyroid medications, and it's really not helping, right? So
right.
if you have something that's natural, that's going to help you regulate the hormones everywhere, so if it's working thyroid, it's going to be working adrenals, it's going to be helping your immune
Right.
system
Your
entirely.
insulin,
So,
yeah, exactly.
and what I like is that it's not, again, no side effects, because obviously you mentioned salmon and the
Mushroom.
mushroom, but then again,
Right.
there's a lot of synergy going on. There's a lot of infusion with
There's yeah, there's
the
saffron,
ginseng.
hops, the ginseng. Yeah,
I was looking at the ingredients. It's like there's nothing that's not natural in there. I'm like, okay, awesome. This is Dr. Dan, I believe, right? That
yeah.
the
Dr. Dan
organic chemist.
Googler. Yes.
Wow,
Uh-huh.
awesome, awesome work. This is what we need more of, and then this is why I wanted to make sure we spread the word out for people that are right now desperate. They can't find, diabetics. I know a lot of people that are diabetics, and they're disappointed of all these side effects on the GLP-1 that are like, the
Right.
names, the popular names. Those, I don't have to say
Yeah.
them all, but they want to look for other ways. Yes, we could get a diet. Yes, we could get you exercising.
Right.
Yes, you could do that. It's going to help you walk, this and that, but they need the support. And we got to be
Right.
realistic ourselves that
Mhm.
they need that extra
Right.
kickstart, right? So this is one
Exactly.
thing that I really want to start spreading the word myself. And I'm glad to have you here so you can let us know. How long has it been out, by the way? It's what is like a good year now, right?
No, it just launched in January this
So it
year.
just launched, and there's a lot
It
of
just
great,
launched. And they can't even keep it on the shelf. I mean, business has gone up 1,000% in this short time because of, what results we're seeing.
yes. I mean, I got to get some of the men on here too.
Yes.
Let's get them on it because, it's not just women. I know we hear a lot of about women with their hormones, and it's men too. Guys, wake up. There is a better way. You just have to be out there hustling and, successfully making money, but you got to get in shape too.
Yeah, that's
And this is a
true.
great way to
That's
start.
very true.
So, wow, a lot of powerful information there. Now, before we wrap up, we finish every episode with, it's kind of like a
Uh-oh.
rapid round that I do with my guests. So,
Okay.
quick, first instinct, no overthinking,
Oh
ready to
boy.
go, and quick answer. Okay, so sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Okay, me too. Dance or sing?
Uh, same.
Okay, so you're okay, shower singer. Beef tallow, olive oil, or seed oils? Ah,
Olive oil. I'm
olive oil. I
Italian.
love it. Yeah, there you go. You know the olive oils. There's another Italian one. Coffee, tea, or matcha?
Tea.
Oh, I'm surprised. Italians usually go for the espresso. Barefoot or shoes on the sand? You're in Tampa, so you know about sand.
Barefoot on the sands.
Barefoot. And then the last, detox or nourish first?
Nourish first.
Nourish first. Okay. Good answer. All right. So, two fun ones for you. One food you'd never give up.
Mm. One food I would never give up. Mm. Uh-huh. I'm a protein first person, so I probably would never give up any of my protein or my meat. Yeah.
What type of protein is best for you? Do you like the beefs, the chickens, the
I like the beef, but I don't like, they can be inflammatory. So, um, I even like the fish. So I would do say the chicken and then the beef and then the fish.
right? Okay, good. Now, what's one health myth that drives you crazy?
What was the question? One health what?
One health myth that
Myth?
drives you crazy.
Gosh. That people keep thinking that their medical doctor can get them well by prescribing them a pharmaceutical.
That's a great, yeah, that's pet peeve of
Yeah.
mine too. Yep.
I
Okay, so
mean,
all right, before we close, I have one final question for you. And think of it like if you're in a time machine, you're going back. If you could go
boy,
back and sit down with that 25-year-old self of yours for a couple minutes, what's one piece of advice you would give her, this youngster?
I would say stop trying to do everything on your own. Stop trying to prove how strong you are by trying to carry everything yourself. And to realize that if the right people, the right opportunities, all the right support, you could, actually take stuff further faster by allowing people to help you. I've never, really allowed that. And to really trust your instincts, knowing that, you know more than you actually give yourself credit for. And, you just wait too long to act on it. So, I mean, those are things that that I've learned in the 30 years of practice. It's a good idea to ask for help when you need help and not be afraid to ask for help.
I love that. I love that. You mentioned instinct there. That came out. Trust your instinct. We're not taught that. And the
Right.
support, yes, definitely. Whatever your community is, reach out to that
Yeah.
community and trust. Uh, it's something that we don't quite learn in school. It's more of trusting on what controls us, right? And not really, excuse me, the instincts. So I love that. Okay. And what really stands out to me from this conversation with you is that I guess, again, to metabolic health. Metabolic health isn't about trying harder, isn't about adding more stuff on there. It's about understanding how your body actually works, right? Excuse me. When you support your physiology, like you said, everything starts to shift. And I think
Hmm.
we're seeing that with your work. I'm going to obviously ask you to let us know where people could connect with you. Where's the best place to find you, and what are you currently working on?
So you can find me I'm on Instagram, Dr. Elena Morteale, and I'm also on Facebook. You can find me there, again, Dr. Elena Morteale. Um, if you're in Tampa, I have an actual office as well. Um, and really what I'm working on now is the, the natural aspects of working with the GLP-3 as well as the cellular absorption of the other products and fixing that metabolic pathway. I mean, it's so much easier because the products absorb so quick. It's, patients aren't pill fatigued because you don't have to take a lot of stuff. There's so much in each product. All of them are in the physician's desk reference. People are more compliant and we're seeing less pills and we're seeing better results in less time. And I've seen that with their labs. I mean, when I have patients come in here and we put them on protocols like this, in 3 weeks, their labs are changing tremendously. And that was another draw in for me that this was the space I needed to continue to focus on.
Yeah, that's a big project there, and I think I've seen you with at events too, right? So you're also
Yeah.
participating in some of the events out there, so letting the word out with uh, different places you're going to. So that's great. So yes, people, if you are in the Tampa area, I'm going to leave your information on
Sure.
here, and so they could get a hold of you, reach out to you, and look at all the wonderful results that are happening with your patients, the clients, and so on and so forth. That's great. Now, thank you so much again for coming and sharing your perspective. I appreciate your time with us. It was powerful, and I would love to have you back for more in the near future. Maybe we'll do a live one of these days. I go out there and camp with myself.
All right. You let me know.
Right? And to our listeners,
Absolutely.
if this episode helped you, share it with someone who needs to hear this. This is huge, okay? And remember, aging isn't a problem. Aging is the aging without the intention is what the problem is. So look for support. There's people out there doing it right. And here is Dr. Elena Morteale that is doing it right. Okay, so thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye now.